I do.
Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, a.k.a. Caliban, and we still don't know number one's name, but we do know that she's a monster. I mean, who eats French fries without ketchup? Joining me, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom on the Chronic Rift Network. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
What goes on fries in England? Is it like
malt
sauce?
vinegar?
Malt vinegar.
Brown sauce.
Okay. What is brown sauce for? What do you do? HP. What do you put that on?
I have no answers.
Oh, haven't got there yet. Okay.
Well, I'm just British people on some level are all just insane, and
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
not yet.
Sure. It'll come one day. Do you have a like a go-to snack there, or like food when you're like it just all gets too British and you need a taste of home?
I made my mom bring me a box of Cheez-Its,
Okay. Sure.
but I don't know if that counts because she had to bring them for me from America. But I don't know. I mean, I'm a vegetarian, so I eat just lots of vegetables anyways.
Oh, well, there you go. There are no cheese crackers in England? Or
There's
do they just...
there are Jacob's mini cheddars, which are good. The red Leicester variety
That's
gets
way
the
classier than
closest.
Cheez-It.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
American version is, it's got Cheez-It. Yeah.
But they're no Cheez-It. You gotta have those chunky salt granules on top.
Yeah, you got to have that. Well,
Makes the Cheez-It.
yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in to British Snacks Are Us. No, actually, this is Star Trek Discoverage. We're here to talk about the episode that we've just watched on CBS All Access of Star Trek Discovery. We don't have a third guest this week. Are you busy? I'm busy. And you know how busy, or how I know how busy I am? Are you a tab person on your browser? I have about 357 tabs open right now with all the projects and things I'm working on, and I can always tell it's like a stress level. It's like a way that I can look at, like, oh yeah, I'm really busy right now. I've got 400 tabs open, so I got to clear some of these tabs.
Yeah, that's me like writing a paper,
Yeah, exactly.
and sometimes I will literally finish it so that I can close like
Just
early
close the
because I'm like I need to get all of this out of the way.
yeah, close the computer, throw it in the trash, and you're all done. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about Star Trek news a little bit before we get into the episode here. So I heard a story this week that Whoopi Goldberg is interested in returning to Trek for the upcoming Picard series. What do you think about that?
I hadn't heard that before, and wow. I mean, we can only pray for Whoopi to return to us. But I don't know, the way they've been steering all the shows to be like nothing like what's already been on the air. I don't know if they'll have her on even for a cameo,
Yo, you think that they're going to take Picard and they're just going to set him totally out, amongst, well, the stars, but just doing something else, nothing to do with anything TNG at all?
Well, kinda. Like, I don't know.
Well,
They're really like dancing around it with Disco. Even having the Enterprise now and having Pike and number one here, they're still like, but this isn't your grandma's Star Trek, like today's episode was so crazy. Like, it was so Star Trek original series, but it was also so Disco because it was so much more complicated than like if this was an original series episode, it would have just been like, this thing has broken our universal translator and now Spock is speaking Vulcan and Uhura is speaking, like Swahili, and then that they would fix it and that would be the episode.
Yeah.
but instead, they in the writers' room, they just want to make us suffer.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. What did you think about the news that there would be a animated show for younger viewers?
Oh my God, so excited. The animated series was like the first Star Trek I ever watched, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
when I was like a tiny, tiny, like toddler. And I just loved it so much. And I have so like many like little kid memories of like sitting in front of like our like ancient TV in our first house and watching it. And I'm so excited to have something like that back on the air, and I'm 100% gonna watch it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I just found out, if listeners don't know, the season 2 premiere of Discovery is actually available for free on YouTube, the entire episode. So I wouldn't necessarily suggest starting with the first episode of season 2, but if you know somebody who's thinking of giving Disco a try, that would be a good place to send them. Well, tonight we have seen the 4th episode of Star Trek Discovery Season 2, An Obol for Charon, and we're here to break it down for you. And before we start, as always, we're setting a course for the spoiler zone, listeners, so be warned. We're glad you've decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode yet, spoilers for it are incoming. The official synopsis for An Obol for Charon is: a mysterious sphere threatens the USS Discovery, even as May, in her original form, implements a plan that puts Tilly's life in danger. Saru and Burnham's bond grows when Saru is forced to acknowledge a deeply unsettling Kelpian truth, and Pike receives new intel on Spock from a loyal friend. These episode summaries get more and more like a script for the episode. You realize how much is going on in some of these episodes. The teleplay for this episode was written by Andrew Colville and Alan McElroy. Andrew Colville, we talked about last week. He's a staff writer for Discovery Season 2 and a co-executive producer for the show, and he also wrote last week's episode, Point of Light. And Alan McElroy, now, if this is the Alan McElroy I'm thinking of, he is a writer and producer on Star Trek Discovery this year, but he's also the writer of films like The Marine, the 1997 Spawn film, Wrong Turn, the 2000 Left Behind film, the live-action Tekken film, and the 2002 movie Ballistic: X vs. Sever, considered by many to be the worst movie ever made, with a 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes. And, yes, starring Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu. And it's a film, Ballistic: X vs. Sever, that I've already covered on my cult movie podcast, Craft to Services, which you can find at crafttoservices.com. Seamless plug, but we'll keep going on from there. And all that said, just to spoil my review a bit, I immensely enjoyed the script of tonight's episode, so no worries there. I'm good with Alan. The story for the episode comes from Jordan Nardino. Nardino is a co-executive producer of Star Trek Discovery, and he wrote the Season 1 episode Vaulting Ambition. And there's also a story credit for Gretchen Berg and Aaron Harberts, the former head writers for Season 1 and the first part of Season 2. The episode was directed by writer, producer, and director Lee Rose. She also directed the episode Choose Your Pain from Discovery's first season. And a little pedantry before we get rolling. An obol, in this case, was a form of currency used in ancient Greece, which, depending on the specific time or place, were either coins or spits or rods, 6 of which made up a drachma. The titular obol for Charon refers, of course, to the ancient Greek practice of placing a coin on the tongue of the deceased, allowing them to pay Charon, the ferryman, who took the deceased across the river Styx to the entrance of the underworld. If you can't pay the ferryman, you're stuck haunting the shores of Styx forever. It's kind of like Uber, but I guess it would be like Unter in this case. Good night, everyone. No, we're going to continue. Obol is also the name I found out of a proprietary cereal bowl technology. You can look it up online. It's the first thing that comes up when you Google Obol, thanks to capitalism. It's a cereal bowl. I don't know if you've seen this, with like an S-shaped wall down the middle. And it's got 2 different elevations in the bottom, and allows you to keep your cereal from getting soggy, because you can dispense it at your leisure from the upper compartment into the lower compartment of milk.
Wow. The cereal bowl I never knew I needed.
Yes, it's a 2-compartment cereal bowl. Of course, that refers to the Greek practice.
And that's what they were referencing in the title of the episode.
That's what it's for, yeah. It's the Greek practice of leaving a Fruit Loop on each eye of the deceased. What did you think of the episode?
I loved it.
Are you doing that thing where this is the new best one?
That's exactly what I was thinking about 5 minutes into this episode. I was like, it's happening
It's
again. It's
happening again.
happening to me again. And every week we talk about how I have to stay up late to watch these, but it's like, it's like 1:50 and I'm like in my room alone just crying. Just like full tears, and we don't have to get into it, but I watched a movie. I'm a film student, and
Yeah.
I watched a movie today called Suffragette. And so about I don't know, like 12 hours ago, I was in full tears watching that. So it's been a rough day for me consuming media.
Yeah.
But they really got me. They got me with this episode. Like
It
I was
was.
convinced that we were gonna lose Saru.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of me intellectually knew there's no way that they can kill. I mean, Doug Jones isn't going anywhere, but also part of me kind of I actually wrote down in my notes the second he says, "Oh, I'm gonna die," that, and I'm not like I don't have secret powers or anything, but I wrote like he's gonna be fine. Like his ganglia will fall off or disappear or something, and that will be the sort of thing that he has to do to sort of level up. Now, I didn't know that he was gonna like at the end of this. He gets kind of like a confidence boost, like Jordy got. Like
Yeah,
is it like the
yeah.
second season of TNG, where it's like I can do anything. Look out, Julie, here I come. Um, so I didn't expect that them to go that hard into like his personality, but I did think, oh, you know what? I bet that the whole culling thing, it's all a con. It's something that they've been told and has been programmed into them, and we got a lot of. I mean, if you haven't seen The Brightest Star, the short trek, I mean, clearly you need to, but we kind of got all that information again in this episode. This is a big one for the Cerulegans out there still trying to make that happen. In that I mean, it works a lot of Saru's backstory in and really changes him in a big way. It wasn't just, oh, thank God I'm not going to die. He's like kind of mad now. He's like, we
Oh,
got to tell my
yeah.
people about this. This is crazy.
Well, and I had that thought too at the beginning. I was like, that's a lot. If the predator species that just yoinks you guys is telling you that, like that's clearly a lie.
Yeah,
But then he was like the makeup department really just went all out on making him look like crusty and on the verge of
yeah,
death.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
but no, yeah, I was in like full denial because I was like, oh well, they can't kill Saru. Like it's Doug Jones. They can't, like he's a thing. Like he's not gonna die.
yeah.
But I was still like having a really like it's so moving. And then I was having such a moment with that. And then there was like 45 seconds where I was like, oh, it's happening. It's happening, and I'm
Yep.
not ready.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm endlessly glad that he is not going to leave the show, and also it's just another notch in the belt here. I don't know if that metaphor works at all, but like for them, kind of going after or exploring religion this year. Saru finds out that what is essentially the de facto belief of his planet, the Great Balance, is something that is a lie essentially, or is something that was manufactured in order to control his people. So what are they? Where do you think we're going here, as far as talking about faith and religion here in this season?
I mean, it definitely is a theme. I don't know where we're gonna go with it. I don't understand it, but also like Saru being the only Kelpian that's ever really like rebelled. Like, did he not have this thought before where it's like,
Yeah,
you know, they're just doing this to control us? Like, he never
right. So if he's
was like,
rebelling,
this is fake.
yeah, is he Kelpian Jesus or Kelpian Satan?
Ooh.
There's your media studies. Think about that for a while. What did you think about the sphere? Which I don't. Did it ever get a name?
No,
Just a crazy, crazy sphere.
just the sphere that's been there for a very long time and
Yeah.
can somehow disseminate information into the computer.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, they've got a Wi-Fi, but I didn't. Near the end of the episode, they were talking about some of the information that they were getting from it, and I googled some of the names, and I didn't see anything really come up. And with all those names, you think that they'd get some kind of, I don't know, maybe I just missed it, but some kind of name for the species that created this sphere. But I thought that it was a fascinating idea to put into the show, having this species. It was sort of like Inner Lightish a little bit, like the idea that
Hmm.
they had, whatever had happened to this species, they had created this created this probe to sort of share, their last memories or their accumulated knowledge. And it also kind of reminded me of a Star Trek novel. There's a novel by Peter David called, I think it's called Eye of the Beholder. And in it, the Enterprise D finds this strange craft that's from a long dead race. And inside, what you don't, I mean, I'm going to spoil the book, I guess, a little bit, but like,
Spoil
you
it.
find out that it is like an art museum. It's like the collected art and humanities of this culture. But they're a culture that comes from a different part of space. Something about them gives you sensory overload. So the away team beams over there to see what's going on, and they all freak out. And Data's the only one that can like keep it together. And eventually, like Data figures out, oh, this is like they're trying to show us their culture. It's like a message in a bottle type situation that we get in Trek sometimes. And that same theme of harmful sensation is there. Being just overwhelmed by what they're trying to give you.
That's funny that it reminded you of that because it reminded me of a novel I read. It's not a Star Trek novel, called Saturn Run by like somebody Sanford,
Okay.
and they like basically they like it's like in the future, and NASA basically sends a ship to like they like discover this like alien thing, and it's like the same thing where it's like a pit stop where you can get like all this like information, but you have to like trade stuff. So they're like, okay, well, we'll trade you like all of Earth's music for like how was this built?
I got a Maroon 5 CD.
Exactly.
What can I get? Yeah, not much. Well, that's cool. I have to imagine, do you think that it's a cool thing? And I think I've talked before on Enterprising Individuals about how we're always, Starfleet's always getting new information or like cultural exchange, and then we never actually see the effects of like some great piece of technology we get from an alien or something that we learn. Do you think that the knowledge that they get, which of course they're now combing through and is 100,000 years of knowledge, do you think that they'll find some clues to what the Red Angel or the lights are in there?
They have to, right?
Yeah.
If they don't, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah.
But like they have to be able to use it. I don't know what for. I still don't know how they're gonna like wrap up this Red Angel plot line in a neat little bow for me, but
Yeah, they're letting it ride, and I think I like that. I think we know that there was a break in production between, I think, like the 6th episode and the 7th episode, so maybe it'll kind of come to a head in a show or two, and then we'll have to, kind of get back into it. But I like the fact that they're letting it go. And, something else is like, the thing about Starfleet is like, knowledge is its own reward. And I thought that it was really amazing that I like Pike and I like Anson Mount's portrayal of Pike, but I was really surprised that he literally chose Discovery, the ship, but I mean also a Discovery over his stated mission, which is to follow Spock's shuttlecraft or whatever. And so usually you have the captain there, especially when he's not necessarily the main character, as like a force of authority. He's supposed to be the guy that goes, no, we got to break it off. Yeah, this is really cool, but we have to do what our job is. And he's like, I mean, people call Kirk a cowboy, but Spike's like, or Pike's like, yeah, screw it, let's do it. Like, we got to get this stuff. It's really important. I realize that. So I still like Pike, but is he just going to be like, he's just space daddy to everybody? Like he's just a big teddy bear.
he loves Tilly and he loves Burnham.
Yeah, I know.
Ooh.
He's going to have to get me. I want to see him yell at somebody. Come on.
I mean, could you like look Saru in the eyes and be like, I know you think you're dying, but like we gotta bounce because my officer killed some people and we gotta go grab him. So like
Well, I never could, because I'm 100% Cerulean, but I think maybe that's the kind of tough decision a captain needs to make.
I mean, you're probably right. But then he wouldn't have gotten thousands of years worth of information.
That's true.
Downloaded directly to the hard drive.
And it's one of those things where it's like you give up something and you get even more because part of the data is, the sphere knew where the shuttle was, so no problem.
Yeah.
So, what else is going on the ship? Down in engineering, all kinds of things are going on that almost seemed detached from what was actually going on in the rest of
Yeah.
the show. Tig Notaro's back, which I thought was really great. And we got the
I
exact,
love her
yeah,
so much.
we got the exact kind of interplay between her and Stamets that I think we expected and also really, really wanted.
And needed.
Yeah. Do you think that he's got a point about, like solar panels up to mushrooms or the new clean energy type thing?
Yeah, yeah. I loved his clean energy rant.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something's going to go wrong because, of course, not everything is running on spores in the future. But yeah, I like their exchange with the house dressing and all that.
Also, imagine like being Burnham and you're dealing with like Saru and the ship about to blow, and then you go down you go down to engineering and you can't get in, and Tilly's just got like a fungus attached to her arm, and you're like, what is
I
going
can't leave you
on
guys alone
down
for
here?
5 minutes. Yeah, what is
Like,
even happening
you
here?
can't take. I asked you to watch her for a day.
You drilled a hole in her head. I'm never coming back to this daycare again. I thought that was a little extreme, but I guess in a future where you can just wave a wand and knit bone and flesh and stuff like that, maybe like drilling a hole in your head is just that's just a fun weekend.
Yeah, but like also they're always like dropping, like they always have people drop like, oh, it used to be so barbaric. You used to have to cut into people with
Right? Yeah,
scalpels, and then they're just like, oh well, we have to drill into her head.
yeah. Leonard McCoy would, but then again, they're engineers. Leonard McCoy never would have gone with that, but they just see it as like, all right, where's the tool? Is it a drill? Okay, let's do this.
It's broken. We fixed it.
Right, I got some gum. Fits in the hole.
Point
There you
A,
go.
point B.
Yeah, I mean, whatever century it is, though, you do not want to get like fungal spores in your brain. That's bad news.
Oh my God, I was so, I just the whole like fungus thing and like that thing. I mean, when they pulled it out of Tilly, first of all,
Yeah,
and then when it just like escalated today, and it like especially with the spores, like I never anything that can hit you with a spore, I don't trust. I'm suspicious
okay,
of
all right,
spores.
all right.
I'm also allergic
It's
to
prudent.
literally everything outside, so maybe that's part of it.
I'm surprised that Tilly isn't allergic to spores. That seems like a character feature that she'd have.
Yeah, no sneezing.
Everybody gets CCs of Claritin before they head down to engineering.
Uh, oh my God, but when they were like stoned though,
Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing about your aura.
Yeah, right.
I was like, that's just me, like
Wait a minute.
daily.
Psilocybin.
Daily, I'm just like,
You're the
you
bad guy.
have the
Yeah.
best energy. Slap
Yeah.
me in the face real quick so I can focus.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of I like it, but there's been a lot of there must be a lot of music fans in the Discovery writers' room because there's a lot of music references on the show. A couple specifically.
Oh my God, when
In this
Saru
episode.
left the bridge and there was a like a bit of music that sounded like the original theme
Right.
that really killed me.
Yeah. I think it's cool that they referenced David Bowie and that Space Oddity is
That
Tilly's
oh
favorite song, but they does Stamets. He's more of maybe an opera fan or a Beatles fan. He knows that song's about a dying astronaut, right? It's maybe not the best thing to sing before you drill into somebody's head.
oh, he was so sweet though. I was
Yeah, he
like, that's
was.
the best bedside manner I've ever seen at a Stamets. Like he's just like, hey kid, what's your favorite song?
Hey,
And
what's
he's
your
like, I
favorite
know
song?
you're faking it.
Why? What's going to happen? Yeah.
Oh man.
Something else I liked in this episode was we got like a full on briefing room scene. Like we got like a
Yes.
real life. Here's the bridge crew. I think we're starting to get to know the bridge crew a little better this year. Although I wish that they would get subplots, but I wish they'd also get in the original series. When you think about it, like Sulu didn't have that many lines, but he would get
Mhm.
like a good line. They would
Yeah.
see some strange thing. Abraham Lincoln would be on the view screen or whatever, and he'd be like, "Boy, I don't know about this," and like we'd be like, "Oh yeah, you got him." So I think they need to give like a few better lines, but we get to see a lot of Linus. He's becoming more of a
I was
character.
gonna say, what's his deal?
Yeah.
I don't really understand.
I'm not exactly sure what his job is, but he seems to be pretty knowledgeable. Know what
Like,
he's
yeah,
doing.
I don't know what his job is. He's just kind of like, it sucks to be sick, dude. And I've got 6 sinuses. So, like,
Yeah.
imagine that. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna
All
top
right.
that later. Some stuff is gonna fall out of my head, but yeah, that
Oh,
sucks.
God. Also, the thing with the universal translator breaking,
Yeah.
are they not, is the majority of the crew not just speaking Earth English to each other? Because, I mean, obviously, like, Linus and, I mean, I would say Linus and Saru, but like confirmed Saru speaks like
Right.
every language.
Yeah.
But at first when it broke and Burnham started speaking Klingon, I was
Yeah.
like don't do this to me again, number one. Like I was like, we're not having a repeat of last season's tinfoil hats. I'm not doing it.
Right. Yeah.
But so I don't like. Does that mean that she's not like? It felt to me like that means that every crew member is speaking a different language at all times, unless they need to switch to English
Yeah. That threw me
to
for
with the working.
well, it threw me for a loop. But what I think I came up with was, well, first of all, that whole scene with Linus does help set up that he isn't speaking English, and I think
Yeah.
separate problem. Everybody in the Federation has to speak Earth English. I don't know, whatever. Archer wasn't that great, but so everybody speaks English, but maybe aliens like Saurians, like I presume Linus is, don't have the mouth parts that they can actually speak English. So crew members that don't have the correct parts are probably speaking their own language. But what I didn't get was, why does the computer and the translator getting messed up mean everybody's speaking something else? And I think it's an
Yeah,
effect.
exactly.
I think it's an effect of, because as far as I understand, their brains weren't being affected. It's just when an Andorian ambassador comes aboard and he's like, "What's up?" He's speaking Andorian. We just hear English because translator. And so in this case, that effect of the translator, is just randomizing their languages. So what you hear is the computer replacing their speech. Now, it's a thing of the Trek universe. If somebody is speaking Andorian, wouldn't we hear something Andorian, but also "what's up" over it, like you're watching people at the UN on C-SPAN or something like that?
Yeah,
Um,
or, it was like in Star Trek Beyond.
yeah, exactly. They do that in Beyond. They actually do that in on the Klingon ship in Discovery as well. So,
Right.
and I think it's just a convention of TV, but you could also, I don't know, there's probably some memory alpha page somewhere that says that the computer actually, uses noise cancellation to cancel the original speech and then insert the new speech. But
It's like watching dub TV, but in real life.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then, like, I wasn't satisfied. It's because like if Burnham and Pike are both speaking English, then Pike should have been like, why are you being translated into Klingon, and not like, why are you speaking Klingon? I
Or
can't understand you.
yeah, well, or couldn't you just pull somebody's like ear really close to you, so they're like literally hearing the sounds that are coming out of your mouth, and just be like,
Yeah.
whisper to each other or something,
Yeah.
or just write something down on a piece of paper. I don't know. I'm gonna watch it again, and I'm gonna love getting the answer. But I did miss it the first time around. But it wasn't the fault of the script. What a great script!
No, yes, the episode
Right.
is
X versus Y.
amazing, as evidenced by me crying in my
Yes.
by myself.
Yeah. Just back to Saru for a second. I think I compare him favorably to Spock, but he in this episode he kind of goes through all the Spock things in like
He really
25
does.
minutes. Like he gets his.
I was like, this is too, like, why, if it's like a Pon farr thing, I was like
He
gonna be
gets his
so
own pond
mad.
far. Yeah,
I was like, literally, like, you can't all just be salmon.
Yeah, he figures out something that nobody else could, because he's so smart, and he even gets his own sacrificial death. So we blew through like all the Spock character points
Literally.
in like a half an hour. So I think it worked good, but hopefully going forward, now that he's got a new attitude, Pointer
Oh,
Sister
I'm gonna
style.
miss nervous Saru though too. I was
Yeah,
like kind of sad at the end when he was
but
like, "Oh, I'm confident.
how
like
far could we go with that? Yeah.
I was like, please, I want him to be I like it when he's nervous.
I like the fact that he is growing as a person, and I also like the fact
Yeah.
that the show really reiterates for us. There's a beautiful speech by him where he talks about how he left his own planet and he came to a star base and he saw all these people
Mm.
who had it worse than him, and was like, I'm gonna succeed and I'm gonna make it better because of this. Like diversity changed him. It improved him.
Yeah.
In the way that I think the right people believe it works in our real world.
Yeah.
And I also like the idea that like empathy was kind of his superpower in this case. Like the fact that he, up till that point, was sort of bred to be oversensitive meant that he was able to go, these guys are trying to communicate with us. I think they're going to die and they've got something to say. So, what a great
He is
script.
such an angel. He is such a red angel.
He's a little too good. Anything else that you wanted to say about the episode?
Um, I'm just so grateful. And I think it's definitely a theme in the original series. I don't know about like the rest of Trek, but like we get such like intimate friendships in Disco,
Yeah.
and it makes me so happy. Like all those like any regular boring show, like those intense scenes between Michael and Saru where they're just like, I love you and here's like your best quality is this and like all this stuff, like that would be lead up to like that would be like a romantic plot of the episode. Like a character would be dying and the other character would be like, you can't die, I love you. But here they're just like, no, like they're best friends and they've been through so much together. And then like Tilly and Stamets were like that too this episode, and I was just like, it made me so happy.
Yeah. Yeah, on other Trek shows, I mean, this is different. This is different than other Trek shows,
Mm-hmm.
but not different in an unfavorable way. And
Mm-hmm.
like if it was if it was TNG, I think it's like the very last episode of TNG, All Good Things. Riker's like, "Oh, Deanna, how about some dinner?" She's like, "Sorry, I have plans with Mr. Worf." "Oh, no problem." Backs off. Goes on to resent Worf for 20 years. Like everybody's keeping their emotions like so they're all being so professional, and
Yeah.
the characters that were, I mean, people are professional on Discovery, but the characters we're focusing on either know each other so well or they are young and inexperienced and are feeling their emotions still, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
different way to kind of get into the Trek universe, and I think it's one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that sets the show apart and that I really like about it.
Yeah, well, and it's also such a like just like in the original series, especially with like Spock and Kirk and McCoy, like they're just like best friends forever, and it's a little bit less like dramatic like it is in Disco, obviously, but it's still just like I don't know, like a big hallmark of original Trek for me, I think. And
I
I'm just so happy that we have a writer's room that gives that back to us.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We'll see if Tig gets there with with Stamets or with Reno and Stamets. Hey, before we
They
go,
love each other's auras.
yeah, right, exactly. They can bond over drugs. I read before in some of the advanced like news before she was on. I read that Reno was going to be a disabled character, or she was going to have a
Oh,
like a wheelchair or something like that. And I don't guess they didn't pull the trigger on that. Or I
I didn't
totally
read that. I kind
made
of
that up. I reported it
if
on my show. It must be true. Better be true.
if we're using you as a primary source,
Yes.
um, wow, I would have really liked that.
Reporting from my source, me. That is absolutely true. So what do you
Because we
think?
had that remember we had the bit in the first season where one of the like veterans of the war was in a wheelchair and they had actually gotten like a disabled actor to play the character, but it was more of like it was like a one shot at the party because
Right.
Ash was like, we've all made sacrifices, and then it was like shot of the dude in the wheelchair, but
Oh,
it like
wow, cut two.
it
Wow, okay.
literally, But
we do see
it
a wheelchair actor. I think in last episode, in one of the hallways. But
okay.
I don't know. It was just,
That was
it would have been cool to maybe it just proved to be too ambitious, or they thought it was. But anyway, just thought I'd bring that up to kill the momentum of the show. Let's talk about our forward-looking segment that we should call sensors or something. Let's look at our sensors. And what do you think is coming up? Every week we ask what the lights are, who the angel is, how Spock is involved.
Every week I say, I don't know.
Will we see number one again, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Especially with like all the between her and Pike.
I don't know what that was.
Me neither.
You don't think that there's like a romantic connection between them, do you?
I mean, you watch that scene again and tell me, because
come on.
When she what was the she like pauses and goes, Captain, and then he pauses for even longer and then goes, number one, and then he kind of leaves real quick. I was like, okay.
It's well, okay. It's got to be Discovery. It's the horniest ship in the fleet, and so now he's Silver Space Daddy to everybody, I guess. Can't they just be professional? Anyway, yeah, I could see that happening.
I mean, I hope Spock. I hope we see him soon. They've almost caught up with the ship.
Right.
If he's not on the ship, I'm going to freak out.
And of course, next week they have to deal with Tilly being in the Upside Down, or what?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, literally Stranger Things. That's fine.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, can't wait until then. I think we will wrap it up for this week. So thanks for joining us, listeners. Say if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPOD for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage are released. You can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at eistpod@gmail.com. While you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to the show, Enterprising Individuals. Give us a rating and a review if you think of it, because it really helps us out. And also, you can check out our merch. We've got Star Trek merch, t-shirts available on our TeePublic store. Search for Just Enough Trope on TeePublic. That's our parent network for our snazzy Trekwear. And if you really want to support the show, you can stop by our Patreon page, patreon.com/EISTpod. And if you like the show, please tell a friend. Discoverage will return on February 14th for the next episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. This next episode is called Saints of Imperfections and will reportedly feature, I think we've seen that it will feature Philippa Georgiou. In the meantime, you can check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday, I and a guest will discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Trek sphere, updates on Discovery, and interviews with special guests. And we just released the first episode of our new season, our 4th season, and we're talking about The Devil in the Dark, a classic original series episode. My guest on that episode is Lee Sargent, who's responsible for the Star Trek 365 project, where he created a piece of Star Trek art every day for a year. And this year, 2019, every day, he's featuring a piece of Star Trek fan art. There's also some amazing pieces, and you can check them all out at StarTrek365.com. You can hear my interview with Lee on enterprisingindividuals.com or on iTunes. Ella, where can people find Generations Geek?
At Generations Geek on Twitter and Instagram. We're doing lots of cool stuff while my parents are visiting me over here. Okay. So there's some fun new content on there for everyone to look at.
Things to look forward to as well. And I think your most recent episode recently came out with Trek author and former Enterprising Individuals guest William Leisner, talking about his experiences and writing some Trek books and his other work.
The William Bill Leisner.
Mr. William Leisner, Esquire. Yes. So check that out at generationsgeek.com. And that's it for us. Thanks for listening. And we are signing off. This is Aaron for Ella saying live long and prosper.